My Story by David Fatino. I'm 39 years old now, but most of my life has been full of challenges that most people couldn't even imagine. I was born with cerebral palsy, narcolepsy, and several other medical conditions, forcing me to face uphill battles from the very start. Every single day, I experienced between 300 to 600 spasms, agonizing pain that has been a constant in my life for as long as I can remember. The toll that these conditions have taken on me, physically and mentally, is immeasurable. Yet for years, I wore a fake mask of happiness, pretending to be fine because no one around me could truly understand the weight of the exhaustion and pain I was enduring. Cerebral palsy alone is a medical condition that would break many people. It deteriorates the muscles and disrupts the body's neurological system. For most people, this leads to the use of a wheelchair or walker, stripping away the simple freedoms that others take for granted. I didn't know any different. I had to adapt. But the challenges weren't only physical. I struggled with developmentally delays, which led to my placement in special education. The stigma and isolation that came with that experience were incredibly painful. I consistently felt like I didn't belong. I can still remember the anxiety and depression that came with being placed in special education. I was repeatedly told that I wasn't capable of achieving the things that others could, that my abilities were limited by my disabilities. I was constantly being labeled before I even had a chance to define myself. One moment that stands out from my college years, I was pursuing my passion for art. I spent countless hours working on my paintings, but my art teacher criticized my work and suggested that I take a lower level class because I wasn't at the standards that she was expecting. Instead of accepting her harsh words, I stood my ground. I told her, I don't care if it's not at the level you think it should be. I love painting. It's my outlet. It's how I express myself and process the pain and struggles that I carry with me every day. Her response was dismissive. She told me to go see my counselor. I walked into the counselor's office feeling defeated yet still determined. I explained what had happened. She looked at me and said, "David, you paid for the class. You have two choices. You can quit or you can stay. The choice is yours." That moment shifted something inside of me. I realized I had the power to choose my path. I could either give up or keep fighting. I chose to stay. I showed up every class, smiling, even though my teacher wasn't thrilled to see me there. But I kept painting because it was my joy. It was my way of navigating the pain, regardless of what anyone else thought. I refuse to let my circumstances define me. I refuse to just be another statistic, just another person with a disability who was expected to fail. I fought back against the stigma, against the negativity that I was destined to struggle forever. Throughout my life, I've been fired from almost every job I ever had. Time and time again, employers would tell me, "We're letting you go because you're not showing up on time." It felt like a broken record. The same painful conversation happening over and over again. I would explain I was trying to do my best, that I genuinely wanted to be there, but there was something that was holding me back. I told them I felt like there was a medical reason for it, but I couldn't fully understand what was going on with my body at the time. No matter how I stayed up late trying to prepare for work, no matter how hard I pushed my body through the fatigue, my body would betray me. By the time I got to work, I could barely stay awake. It wasn't until I saw a neurologist that the truth came to light. After a series of tests and assignments, I was diagnosed with narcolepsy, accompanied by extreme daytime sleepiness. Finally, I had an explanation for that constant exhaustion that made it nearly impossible to stay awake, to stay present, to stay effective in my job. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But with that relief came a different kind of sadness, a deep realization that something uncontrollable had been a part of me for as long as I can remember, silently costing me every job I ever had. It was a hard truth to accept. Losing those jobs wasn't just a financial blow, it was a devastation to my heart and my soul. With each job loss, I felt a little more invisible, a little more defeated. I knew I was capable of so much more, but I couldn't break through that invisible barrier. It wasn't just about the work. It was about the feeling like a failure. Like I was letting everyone else down, even though I was giving my everything I had. Each time I was let go, it felt like the weight of the world pressed down harder. The cycle of disappointment, rejection, and self-doubt was overwhelming. I began to question my self-worth, wondering if I would ever find a place where I truly belonged. But through the pain, I learned an important lesson. Being fired did not define who I was or what I was capable of. I had to accept the reality of my condition, but I had to also stop letting it define my worth. There had to be another way forward, a way to break the cycle of failure, a way to reclaim my power. One of the most critical turning points in my journey came when I discovered the power of fitness. Going to the gym and engaging in physical activity became a huge part of my life. Not only did it help me maintain my level of independence, an independence that's often hard to hold on to with my conditions, but it also provided me with an incredible mental outlet. Exercise became my refuge, my way of clearing my mind of the frustration and anger that had often built up in my body. Fitness gave me a place to channel the pain, the emotions, and the mental fatigue that I carried with me every day. When I'm lifting weights, walking on the treadmill, or going through my workout routine, it's like the weight of the world lifts for a brief moment. And I can focus on nothing but the present. In the gym, I don't feel disabled. I feel strong. It's the one place where I push past my limits, break past my perceived boundaries, and take control of my body in ways I didn't think were possible. Fitness has given me a sense of accomplishment and pride that I never thought I'd have. It's allowed me to prove to myself that I can keep going no matter what, no matter how much my body might resist. It's helped me stay grounded, both physically and mentally, and find peace in the chaos of life. There were dark days, days where the weight of it all felt like too much to bear. But then life threw me yet another curveball. At 30 years old, I had a heart episode, which meant that I'd be on oxygen for the rest of my life. But once again, I refused to let that define me. I made a choice to keep fighting. I started doing physical therapy, pushing myself every day to get stronger, even when it was even hard to breathe. When the weather was right, I'd ride my bike down some of the mountain trails in Reno, feeling the freedom of motion, even when it was hard to catch my breath. I was alive, and that was enough. Over the course of my journey, I created more than 300 paintings, each one a reflection of my journey, of my struggles and triumphs. I also wrote a book, and I spent a year writing it, and I self-published it on Amazon. None of this would have been possible without Medtronic. Their technology gave me control of my body in ways I never thought were possible, allowing me to experience emotions and physical capabilities that once seemed out of reach. With their support, I was able to pursue my dreams, and despite my learning disabilities, earn my associate's degree. Then, Medtronic gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. They flew me out to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I was interviewed and broadcasted to over 90,000 of their employees. I shared my story with the world, my story of of pain and struggle and perseverance, a story of triumph over adversity. It was a moment that proved to me that no matter where you start, no matter what obstacles you may face, you can always end up exactly where you need to be if you never give up. What I've learned through all of this is that life will always throw obstacles in your path. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. We all face battles. Some days the weight of it all will seem unbearable, but you always have a choice in how you face those challenges. You can choose to rise above them, learn from them, and transform them into something beautiful. I'm here to tell you, no matter how dark it gets, no matter how many obstacles stand in your way, you can always find the light. You can choose to keep fighting, to keep pushing forward, and never let anyone or anything tell you that you are less than enough. Your pain, your limitations, or even the simple act of getting out of bed each morning should never stand in the way of your dreams. Life doesn't care about your circumstances. It cares about what you do with them. We only get one life. That's it. It's up to you how you live it. Life is a series of choices. You can let your hardships define you, or you can use them as stepping stones to something greater. Look around you. Your family, friends, mentors, they're your lifelines. Lean on them. Let them help you. And when it's your turn to be a lifeline for someone else, you will be. Life is about growth. It's about developing skills, learning, and never stopping. It's about showing up every day, even when it feels impossible. Even when it feels like you'll never get there. Keep going. The journey is just as important as the destination. Looking back at where I was in 2015, I see how far I had come. I had help along the way, but it was me that put the work in. It was me that kept showing up. This is my story. This is just the beginning. So, take it from someone who's been through the darkest times. You are not defined by your struggles. You are defined by your resilience. Keep fighting, keep dreaming, keep living. Your story is still being written, and it's going to be a incredible story.